to this computer. Okay.
Awesome.
Who even cares? Who is this Jeffrey Epstein guy? Who even cares about this? Old news, fake news. Who even cares? What a boring subject.
Right? It's so fucking funny, dude.
Who cares?
You can't make this shit up, you know?
Oh, holy gibbles. Oh, my babies. Wow. Huge, huge.
Dude, but like to me, the most fascinating thing about it is uh how tone deaf this is of him.
Oh,
You
it's an
know,
unforced error. I can tell you
well,
3 or 4 ways you could have handled this
yeah,
where you could have looked freaking awesome.
yeah,
I can come up with them right now.
right. But like, I like okay, so I have this friend of mine who's like whatever, a friend of mine from like 30 years ago at University of Michigan, a guy who's actually in some ways reminds me a little bit of you
Mm-hmm.
in some ways. He's like a super talented, intelligent guy who's like multi-talented in different, like a
Mm-hmm.
musician,
Mm-hmm.
like whatever, like a psychologist, therapist, like there's just all these ways. But it's like when Trump won, it like broke his brain, and and it was interesting because like I hung out with. I remember I hadn't seen him in like over 10 years at this point, and it
Wow.
and at 2016, when the DNC was about to have the Democratic National Convention was about to happen, and Bernie hadn't formally dropped out yet, but he was like, it was just like a formality that was about to happen, and and then all of a sudden WikiLeaks dropped, all the evidence that the DNC had rigged it against the primary against Bernie,
Right.
which anyone who had really been paying attention, like it was like obvious, but the people like the Hillary people were in such denial about it.
Mm,
Like
mm.
they were still trying to pretend, like literally, like trying to make it seem like it was like talking about lizard people to say that the DNC had rigged it or put their finger on the scale. And I remember when that happened, and like I saw him when this had just come out, and I was like, I don't know how you can't let them get away with this. If people are like, well, we got to get in line to stop Trump, and we all got to come together, then like I feel like you're just letting them know they can get away with this. So you're gonna win a battle to lose the war. And he was like, I don't know, like I'm hearing that Trump is with Russia, and like right when the WikiLeaks thing came out was coincide with the RussiaGate nonsense started coming out, and I was like, dude, why are you buying this shit? Like,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
like he was someone that shortly after, like a year or two after 9/11, he was like protesting like no blood for oil,
Mm-hmm.
and I was completely apolitical at this point and ahistorical, and I was and my other friend that uh, a mutual friend of mine and his was like, dude, what do you think about Jeremy, like with this no blood for oil stuff? I don't know about this stuff, and I was like, honestly, I haven't looked into it at all, so I really can't say. And I'm just bringing this up to be like, this guy was someone that was a great influence on me, that helped me to like get a little, like start to understand, like, wait a second, like no blood for oil. And he was just the first person I knew
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that was taking a strong stance. And then fast forward like 13 or 14 years, and it's like now he's like totally been transformed by the Obama psyop, you know, because Obama is like Trump. I feel like Obama is like the other side of the, like Obama and Trump are the opposite sides of the same coin, psyop coin, you know, in that they're both their purpose. The main purpose is to be like a sheepdog, to get all the people from, one side from the left and the other one from the right, to sheepdog all these people that the powers that be couldn't successfully message to. How to get all those people involved and having like an emotional investment in one, in the uniparty, either through the Democrats or through the Republicans. And it made people, when W was president, it was like so many people were like, what the fuck is going on? This is wild. This is not normal. This is something else, like the WMD, the Patriot Act, the subprime mortgage, collapse, like, and people were like waking up. And then Obama came along and like sheepdog, like shepherded all these people who were starting to question things and get it red pilled. He was like, no. The white hats are going to save us, like in a similar way. But that was for like the quote unquote left or the Democrats, whereas Trump was that, for the right and the Republicans. And it was just wild to me that my buddy, who was so smart and had gotten me, was into this stuff way before I was, how easily brainwashed he was, and how easily scared he was. And next thing I know, he was like, oh, WikiLeaks is Russian. That's a Russian psyop. And I'm like, dude, what the fuck? Like, what?
Nothing, I just coughed.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to say something.
Nope.
I'm just saying, like, it was just wild to me. And this guy, about a month ago when Trump, backed Israel, worked with Israel to attack Iran, and he was all like, and I was like, dude, he's totally doing this for Israel or the empire, and whichever you want to put it, and he was like, no, Trump is just doing this because Iran has said bad things about him. And I was like, really? Like, you really like buy that? Like, that's why you think he's doing this? I'm like, he wouldn't be doing that and risking alienating a lot of his base over this. Like, I'm like saying, like,
right, of course.
Why would he alienate so much of his base? And but my buddy was so brainwashed. He's like, what are you talking about? He's like, Trump's base will never question anything he does, and they will never be against what he is, no matter what. And I was like, dude, do you only watch MSNBC and read the New York Times, or do you ever step outside of that? Because if you step outside of that, like with attacking Iran, he's really risking losing his base. And then to bring it back to like Epstein,
but strengthening or maintaining the strength of the Israeli ties, or the or of the what empire. Were you calling the empire? The empire, strengthen the empire ties. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, which in some ways is probably one of the only things that would rival alienating some of your base, right? It's like, okay, in that case, I'll do it. Otherwise, you're going to avoid doing that. But in a few cases, it could make sense. You could argue that would make sense, and that'd be, at least in my opinion, that'd be one of the times.
yeah.
Keep the lizard people happy. Please don't eat my soul, baby.
Keep the lizard people happy.
Yeah.
Dude, we gotta make that a song. Keep the lizard people happy.
Yeah. Right? Like, it's like business as normal until they're upset, and then it's like, what do you want? A large pepperoni pizza? Like, no problem. Like, boop, 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 boop. Like, Papa John's. No problem. That's what you wanted? Like, no problem.
Not a problem. That's all okay. And so, like, to think in that context, to think that like Trump is doing something that is obviously like, it's so stupid.
Right. Just mega.
It's just like, and so the Democrats and the Blue Anon crowd, they're like, duh, Trump is retarded. He's, crazy, he's a liar. And it's like, you guys aren't getting it. He is totally throwing away his base. And I guess you could say, whatever, he's not going to run again. So what does he have to lose, I suppose? And it's like, other than like his whole movement that he created is now being like, what the fuck? And people like my buddy who I was just talking about, he's like, no, his base will never leave him or ever be upset with him. And I'm like, you are so in an echo chamber. You don't understand.
Oh, I can show you videos right now. I can show you videos right now of people who have like dedicated their online presence and whole shows and everything to backing this guy up. And they're like, wonderful. Like, okay, how about we're never going to stop talking about this ever? And it's like, and also it seems like the Democrats are like a dog who finally caught the car. And they're like, they don't know what to do. It's like, I'm always chasing after this. And now I finally got it. I've never been here before.
Yeah.
I've never been. I'm here. I've got it. I don't know what to do. It's all, in some ways, I feel like it's almost the Trump supporters that are even the ones that are disillusioned now, that are even the more upset, the more reactive. Then the Democrats are like, like, we're not used to being in this position.
Yeah. And the silence is deafening. That, like, it's been said, like, if Trump eats a piece of pizza in the wrong way, they won't shut up about it and be like, he's Hitler. He ate his pizza folded a taco. And it's like, here he is making arguably the biggest PR blunder of his career. And the Democrats are like, yo, we're not even touching this shit. And it's so obvious. It's like, because you guys are part of it.
Right. No, it's like you go down a few levels. What was it? 6 degrees to Kevin Bacon or something? It's like, okay, you take any Democrat, any Republican, and 6 degrees away are some people that are all totally involved in this. So it's like, the people that know that are like, we don't want this out either. Bill Clinton was probably doing that shit too. Like, it's gonna blow a lot of shit. Yeah, for sure.
I know. And Trump being like, this is a far left thing, this Epstein thing. This is the far left is pushing this. And it's like, what? It is just like, it is stupid. Like, and now we just have some new thing and he comes out and he's like, why are people talking about this? This is so boring.
Yeah, no, that's what I saw. It's like over with. It's taken care of.
I know. It's just like amazing how much he's impaling himself over this thing, how obvious it is.
I know. I'm amazed.
And I was always amazed with his base that, like, in his first term, when the Epstein stuff came out, and how easily satisfied they all were with their, like, okay, he knew Epstein, but he kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago and clearly didn't do any wrongdoing with Epstein, where it's like, what?
Well, I've been thinking about this. This lately, and it's almost like there's 2 levels of knowledge. And that's what this is just my hypothesis, my theory I've been coming up with maybe the past 3 days or 4 days. So who knows? Okay. I may be off or revised or something, but it's making me feel like there's 2 levels of knowledge. Because I think a lot of those people that you're talking about, they might have known that information. Like, they may have legitimately known, okay, Epstein and Trump were friends for a long time. Both of them are quoted as saying they were like besties for 10 years, 15 years, whatever. Okay. That they knew that piece of information, but in some ways, until that piece of information gets transferred from the smaller circle to the bigger circle, the culturosphere, because then there's once the culture knows, and like once the culture knows, once it goes from only a few people knowing
common knowledge game.
Once it's there, then I think in a certain way, the people who maybe even knew that information before, now you have to treat it as true. Before it was just a rumor. It's like, okay, maybe, or okay, yeah, or and it's still in this realm where it's like, it's not what we call truth yet. Truth is once like our culture agrees on it, and enough. There's enough and this is stupid, I don't agree with this or anything, right? But this is how, once it's on enough newspapers, websites, TV shows, blah, 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 suddenly it becomes true. It crosses a barrier and it becomes, this is like true. This is like observable fact now. Common or something. Knowledge. Yeah. And so then even the people that might have known it and played around with their heads, now they're forced to admit it's true. This actually happened. And there's a secondary reaction now where it's like, well, damn, like, okay, I guess I have to, it's like treating it a different way. I knew it before, but now I know it's true for sure. Or if I'm going to agree with the rules of our culture about what makes things true, I now have to agree that this is true. I have to, this is like a fact now. It's not the thing I'm wondering about. It's now the thing that's the fact now. And now that's the fact. Now we're above that, wondering what's above that. We're not wondering about that same thing anymore. Okay, anyway.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah. So it's called, you can refer to as the common knowledge game, which is like the emperor has no clothes. Everybody knows the emperor has no clothes,
right.
But nobody says it.
Right.
And then once, when the emperor's out naked in public and everyone's just acting like normal, like always, and then this one little child, and it takes a child who goes, oh my God, the emperor has no clothes. And he states the obvious, and then all of a sudden everyone looks around like, oh shit, and then everyone recognizes now it's common knowledge.
Right.
Even the little kid is saying it, and then now everyone accepts it and they can't deny it. And, just like WMDs, like there was a brief window of time when they were like, they have WMDs, and people were like, this sounds like bullshit. And they're like, well, that's just a conspiracy theory. Look, everyone's saying it's true.
Well, and it's plausible. Who doesn't want nukes, right? Like it's plausible. Like, sure, probably a lot of places are doing that. Okay, sure.
Totally. Just like like with the Iran thing, it's like they don't have nukes, but Israel's been out there. Like Netanyahu's been out there for what is it? It's like for like 30 years or something, give or take, saying Iran is weeks or months away from getting a nuclear weapon. We must attack and invade and stop them. And it's like, and there's all the,
oh, that's happened so many times. Yeah, that's been used. That's been used so many times. When I'm sorry to interrupt, but when
go.
Israel is the only country that doesn't have any nuclear oversight at all.
I know. It's just like, what? I know.
Well, and that seems to be it seems like there were 3 or 4 factions that really wanted JFK dead, and they're all it was like the fucking Ocean's 11 or something, where it's like you need 5 incredible criminals to like work together to pull off a job, and they're all like, oh, we're all on the same team, like, okay, let's go like rob this bank or whatever. And it's like imagine being one of those groups, and then you find out somehow, maybe I'm not saying this even happened, but you find out, wait, there's like 4 other groups who all want to also murder this guy. Like, bro, let's team up. Let's like split the check on this, Let's check, And that was one of them, because he wasn't going to play in that area, and especially if he was, if there is the whole UFO thing, the whole advanced technology thing, that's like such a huge game changer. And if he was really going to move forward with revealing that, you are threatening the power structure at such a basic level. I mean, on the weapons level, because also what all that stuff is the most powerful weapons of all time. You can take your nuclear weapons and shove them up your fucking ass. It's like, whatever. It takes the most powerful weapons that we possibly have and demotes them way, way, way fucking down. And if part of your identity, which I think part of the, I guess more Zionist or something idea, is that you need to be able to protect yourself. Never again. We need to be able to just fuck anyone up.
Yeah.
Anytime. The idea of like, let's like be like friends and like not build nuclear weapons, and like there's other intelligences in the universe and stuff like that. It takes your whole Bible Old Testament narrative and just puts it in the trash. Like it just trashes it. And you can't have that your whole identity, not you. but any super spiritual person, or I guess it's more religious person, your whole view of reality is based on that. So anything that's going to undercut that or toss it out or revise it to a significant degree or something, it's like, nah. Keep the status quo going. Let's keep the status quo going. If I'm winning currently in the current status quo, no, I don't want to change it. That's terrible.
Yeah. And, you know, Zionism is ultimately, it's part of the British Empire, you know, or the Anglo-American Empire. And, you know, I think I maybe said this to you last time, or if I haven't, whatever, like that, maybe a month or so ago, in the UK, the head of the Conservative Party, this woman, she went on like Sky News and said the quiet part out loud and said that both Israel and Ukraine are both proxies for the UK, which is like, whoa, like, why are you saying that on TV? Like, yeah, I know that, but you're saying the quiet part out loud, you know, whereas like, say someone like my dad, he's like, would be like, what are you talking about? Israel is for Israel and it's for the Jewish people. And, you know, that the whole, you know, like JP Morgan said, things happen for two reasons, the good reason and the real reason. The good reason of Zionism is, to protect Jews and be a safe place for the homeland of Jews. No, the real reason is this is like part of the British Empire, an extension of it, trying to have like the unsinkable aircraft carrier or beachhead in that region, you know, starting way before the Holocaust, you know, and the Holocaust just came and helped, you know, make that a reality, you know, and that's something like Jack Cruz talks about, where, you know, he talks about Meyer Lansky, you know, and Operation Underworld, you know, the intelligence and military intelligence teams up with organized crime to help secure, because they ran like the ports or the Brooklyn Navy Yard, and that they captured like 19 Nazi spies and they killed 18 of them, except for this one guy, I think he's like Kurt Plotkin or whatever his name is. And that guy was an SS scientist, Nazi doctor, who was basically like, look, we're torturing and killing these Jews there, but we're doing it because we're trying to convince them and get them to go to Palestine and to the desert and go and, you know, populate that so that they can become this, you know, chess piece for the British Empire. But none of them want to go there, you know, because they don't want to give up their lives and go and live in this desert, you know, and start all over, you know, and we've got to convince them, and the transfer agreement and how, you know, and they were like doing things like that to like prevent, you know, they wanted, and they were working with the people that were truly anti-Semitic, you know, that wanted Jews out of their land. And they're like, yes, let's work with you. You hate those Jews, like, we'll get them out of there for you. Don't worry, it'll be win-win, you know? And it was clear, like, you know, as Jack Cruz talks about, it was like the Rothschilds and the British royal family and the Vatican that ultimately made this deal. And it was, you know, and I think it's a little more than just Israel. I think it was also like to be a bill collector for the Soviet Union. Basically, he talks about how they lost a loyal title to Russia and the United States. And that's ultimately what they were trying to get back. And that's what, starting with World War I, and World War II is an extension of World War II is an extension of World War I. You know, it's to me, it makes a lot more sense that way. Like that they had to reshuffle the deck, you know, get rid of the old order, create something new, prevent Germany and Russia from, like, you know, coming together, and they were gonna, you know, in a way, like what we're seeing now is like they're trying, but now it's just like it's different, because now I think there's just the knowledge of technology and all these things. There's more resources like that places like China, you know, have access to. It's not like back then when it was Germany, you know, trying to basically get the boot of the British Empire off of their face, you know, or Russia, you know, like, and England did not want to lose the game. They had to partner up and bring the United States into their fold, you know, to help perpetuate, which in weird ways, you know, they were already starting to do before World War One, like with all those banana wars and the Smedley Butler type engagements, you know, was like the U.S. now protecting the, you know, like Smedley Butler said, I was a high class muscle man for the bankers. And when something went wrong with one of their foreign investments, that's when me and the Marines got sent over there. And, you know, usually you were going in there and fighting, you know, groups that had, you know, were in the Stone Ages compared to them. But you see, like, what just happened with Israel and Iran, Israel just got its ass kicked. You know, Trump had to go in there and do this, like, theatrical bombing of the sites and be like, we destroyed everything. And if you disagree, you don't know what you're talking about. Where it's like, yo, you guys had to, you know, Israel bit off more than it could chew. It thought it could go in and make this strike and somehow, whatever, destroy the nuclear sites and really want a regime change. But Iran hit Israel back so hard and decimated Israel's air defenses. Like, that's what makes me go like, is like, are they that dumb? Did they really, like, how it unfolded, was it so surprising? Like, that's what I go, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's the question to me, is like, are they really that inept? Like, I just have a hard time thinking they're that inept as much as they don't really care. Like, or
part of it, I mean, if you mean inept in that they're risking, like, let me clarify. Are you saying, when you're saying from your point of view, they're inept, meaning that their actions could, like, lead to war or, like, lead to conflict or something like that? Is that what you mean?
Oh, more meaning like that it backfired so badly. Like to me, it's like when people are like, Vietnam or Iraq or quagmires. I'm like, I don't know about that. I'm like, I'll tell you what, there are people like the military industrial complex and this whoever powers that be system, they made out like bandits. You know, they made shit tons of money.
War's good for business. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yes. War is good for business. It's good for the arms sales. It's good for the bankers. It's kind of like what you were saying before with the JFK thing. And that's why I think, like, whether there are 3 groups, 5 groups, 7 major groups, like circles within circles. If at the top of the hierarchical structure, it's like, there's like, let's just take arguments. There are 5 major, you know, big oil, you know, like the military industrial complex, arms dealers, and, you know, like whatever. And if 3 of the 5 groups say, let's take out JFK or invade Iraq or Vietnam, they do it. And they're like, all right, now we have to work together to set up the plans and to manufacture consent so that this can happen, you know, as opposed to it just being truly this one lockstep monolithic thing, which I'm open to, but I'm still like, I think you have to have a balance of openness and skepticism to the idea that's truly, like, unless it's just one group at the top, you know.
And they're time travelers, so all they have to do is check out the different timelines and, like, okay, hold on, we need to adjust this here, we need to adjust this here, we have a specific outcome. Or you have, like, the Project Looking Glass idea where you can just, like, look into the future and see what's going on, or the Dan Burrish that, like, most of the grays that we're seeing is actually, like, biological robots that we fucking built 10,000 and 20,000 years in the future to come back and fix the shit that's going on. So the weirder you get, like, I guess I'm saying, the weirder you get, the more it's going to be a pre-programmed, you know exactly what to do when, and the less weird, it's just some powerful groups deciding kind of pick your own adventure, choose your own adventure kind of thing. Okay, we're at this like fork in the road. Do we bomb them or not? Like, raise your hand if you want to bomb them. Like, okay, we're bombing them. Because maybe they're inventing it as it's going along. But if there's weird stuff going on, or if you've got lizard people that go around and purposely seek out planets that are at the kind of lower level of civilization development, meaning you can control and take them over so fucking easy with like your fucking pinky finger, and whatever is valuable about planets, whether it's life forms or minerals or water or whatever, or it's probably all of that together. It's probably like these are like gas stations throughout the universe. Right. What do you need? What food do you need? What does your shit fucking run on? Whatever. We've probably got it here. We've got giraffes and crystals and shit, like whatever. We've got it all. So it's going to be valuable at that level. And if their whole culture is around just like, control all the gas stations in the universe. Okay, cool. Makes fucking total sense. And so, yeah, they're going to have they will have done this enough times where you kind of have an idea of how to do this, of how to basically open a new Chick-fil-A location and run it for a while, for 10 years, 20 years, and make your $1 million a year or something on it. They've had enough experience with setting up a new what's that called when you open a new chain?
This is franchise.
Yeah, exactly. It's like they have enough experience in opening fucking planet franchises. And so, yeah, you kind of run a certain program. Yeah. What you want to stifle you want to keep them at that level where you can control them. You don't want to let their technology get to a point where then they're going to start being a pain in the ass to you. You can give them complete free will, but you really need to curb the technology. And spiritual awareness, it's almost spiritual awareness.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say it, or make an analogy to like a restaurant, like with a bunch of cooks in the kitchen, and you got all these different pots and pans going with different meals, and they're just like, you got to time it right. You got to be like, all right, well, this steak takes X amount, the pasta takes Y amount. We got the salad guys, we got the dishwashers, we got the, whatever, all these different things, the people doing the soups, the people doing desserts. And it's like, it's all got to run smoothly somehow, and you got to have someone overseeing it who's like making sure. Then you have someone in the front who's the maitre d', and you got the waiters and the bartenders and the coach. You got this whole thing so that it runs kind of harmoniously. But it's like, but you're trying it in different conditions. You're like, okay, we're going to open up this franchise in this neighborhood, this other franchise in a different, and we'll see. We'll tweak it accordingly, like some work. So it seems like, the Earth could just be one of the zillion, it's the 1,833rd version of this thing. And it's got like, it's got somewhat unique atmospheric conditions and whatnot with this distance from the sun. You set up a moon somehow that's like the satellite, right? It seems like that's a reasonable, plausible speculation to be like, right, that the moon is hollow. There's all these weird things about it, that it's there, and it's kind of like, seems like it was a satellite made by someone that protects the Earth. You know what I'm saying? If you want to have Earth, you need a moon there, let's say.
Yeah, it sure does help. It sure does help.
In ways that us little people can't fully wrap our minds around. But if we were, whatever, these super intelligent beings or aliens or interdimensional or whatever, or maybe it's just like, and each one you create, it almost like a time travel movie, it influences chaos theory. It nudges the thing over just a little bit, and now there's like a new version, and it's like the butterfly flapping its wings, and it affects other things downstream of that. That we're just like, and we see like when we go into all these countries and we invade them and we take their research, we don't. The old British Empire was like, or old empire would just take it over and try to take over, and then at some point they're like, shit, this doesn't really work. Like, because they revolt, they kill the people, it takes too much time. Like, before the telegraph and before telephone and radio, to communicate from Europe to South America. It took a ship going back and forth, and it took so long. But now then we got the telegraph, the radio, the television, the telephone. Now you can have instantaneous communication, and you could figure out ways to, and you didn't want to take over the whole country anymore because it wasn't really, the cost benefit analysis didn't really justify it.
Right.
You just wanted those resources in that area, or it was a stopover point in some trade route, and now you have a competitive advantage against one of your rivals, and now you can get there quicker, whereas it takes them whatever 1 or 2 years to travel back, each way, whereas now it only takes you like a month, so you have this huge competitive advantage. And if you lose, it just takes you a month to go back and resupply and go back and attack again. You know what I'm saying? And like taking that kind of long view strategic approach, as opposed to some upstarts who don't really know what they're doing, but they're like, hey, this seems like a lucrative business, or attempt at but it's like, yeah, you don't realize, like, there are people that have been doing this forever, and they've, manicured or altered their approach accordingly. You're a newbie, but then maybe a newbie comes along, and just because they don't know anything, they try it in a totally different way, and it works. It might be flawed in some ways, but
that's who Chick-fil-A hates. And that's who Chick-fil-A hates.
Yeah.
That guy.
And so they want to set up the Chick-fil-A, and this wants to set up a system where if someone comes along and pisses off Chick-fil-A, or like whatever, Google or Apple, and create some sort of new technology that will render the iPhone and whatnot obsolete, then it's like, oh, we created the system now where it's okay. We have feelers everywhere, and we're listening and watching everything. So when someone creates that thing that could render our shit obsolete, we can swoop in pretty quickly and be like, hey, you don't have much money. We'll offer you a shit ton of money, buy your thing, and then we'll do with it what we want, or we won't. But now
we'll turn it into a Chick-fil-A. Like, hey, we'll buy your
we'll turn it into
Chick-fil-A. Like, good job. You opened like a competitor to us, and you're winning.
Exactly.
How about we buy you out? We'll pay you $1 billion. How about that? And they're like, well, I started a business to make fucking money. Like, I'll take the $1 billion, do whatever fight, bulldoze it, turn it into a Chick-fil-A instead of Chick-fil-Z. No fucking problem.
Exactly. Like Standard Oil. That's what Standard Oil did. If you had some oil find somewhere that was big and it was like going to potentially become relevant to their interest, they swooped in and were like, okay, we'll buy you out. And if you say no, then they'll kill you out. Fine.
And if you were smart enough to say no, because they're like, no, wait a minute, hold on. Actually, I found a shitload of oil. No, I'm just going to chill on it. Then it was like, oh, okay, we'll kill you then. Fine.
Yeah.
That's easy.
Yeah. We'll kill you then. Exactly.
And probably just the threat is good enough. And probably just the threat is good enough.
In most cases. But in some cases, you're going to find some stubborn person, like There Will Be Blood,
Right.
When he meets up with Standard Oil, and then they're like, okay, we want to buy this, this, and this. He's like, sounds good, done. Like, and we'd also like to buy this new one that you have. He's like, you know about that, huh? He's like, no. I see what you're after. And he's like, no, we know about your son. Your son's having problems.
Right.
Don't you want to be a good dad? And he's like, what did you say?
Yeah.
He's like, I will come to your house one night with a knife. It's like, you're like, what are you doing?
Yes.
And they realize, whoa, this guy is not fucking around. And he somehow got away with it. And they're like, dude, how are you going to ship it? And he's like, he's like, you see, you're trying to get me that way. He's like, you own the railroads. He's like, no, we don't own the rail. That's a conspiracy theory. He's like, I know you own the railroads. And so you're going to, if I won't sell out to you, that's the next gambit, is that you're going to be like, oh, how are you going to ship it? Because we own the railroad. So we'll make the money back by overcharging you. And then he goes, oh, the only other thing is to make a pipeline. And, which he does. And that's his way around them. But he's still like just one of the few stories. I don't even know how based in fact that
right.
It is or not, but whether it is, that's based. There was some story where that happened, whether it's Standard Oil or whoever. That's the way it works. Eventually, they come upon someone who's like, "I'm not selling out. I'm not budging," and then they try to kill you or fuck you or.
And so that guy, that situation becomes one of the most dangerous situations for the powers that be. So I think very early on, you start creating groups to combat that guy, to make sure that you can either you just immediately buy off that guy and fold him into your thing. Like, oh, good idea. You want a job? Or we'll just pay you a bunch of money or something like that.
Yeah.
Or you blow the fuck out of him. Like, because it's like JFK or somebody that's willing to maybe blow the whistle in one area or something. I have my own beliefs on JFK. I don't know if any of it's fucking real or whatever, but so much has been coming out in the past, year and a half or 2 years, that's putting together so many pieces on who wanted him dead and why and blah, 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 blah. And it seemed like for some pretty fucking interesting reasons, you know? That's somebody that's gonna change the status quo or not sell their oil field to you or create some technology. I mean, even like the guy, I don't know, do you know about VLC Player? Do you know that about VLC Player? Ever heard of that? It's a media player like QuickTime or what it's some other shit. But VLC Player was created a while back by this guy, and he made it a free software, and it was one of the first like programs that could run any video format, like any type of weird video format or something. And multiple times companies tried to buy him out so that they could like monetize it and not make it free. And he was like, nah, which is like he's like a hero in the internet community for being somebody who like made something that you could have made
like Tesla giving like free
millions of dollars off of, like literally, like not even that you would have made it. People were trying to buy it for millions of dollars and turning that down, like, whoa, you know? So anybody that's willing to do that kind of stuff, you've got to deal with them. You've got to deal with them. And then secondarily, what I think too is like maybe with someone like a Bob Lazar character is then that becomes a tool you use so that you manufacture your whistleblower to get certain information out that either you need to leak things out or you're going to control the narrative by having whistleblowers leak things out that they saw or worked on so that you can kind of control what's kind of out in the I guess we're talking about the thoughtosphere and then like the culturosphere or something like that you're kind of manipulating that for good or for bad. I don't fucking know. But then because we love the underdog. We love an underdog story. We want Bob Lazar to be real, right? There's a part of us that we want it to be fucking true. That'd be fucking awesome. What a sick story, right? It's like humans love those stories or myths, right? So it's like we want it to be true. That would be awesome. Is it or is it not? Or is it half true? 70-30? I don't fucking know, right? But we all know there's a part of this is like, I hope it's fucking true. That's so fucking awesome, you know? We want that. We love the underdog. We love the whistleblower. We love there can be, even though that guy is like kind of reprehensible in some ways, we still love it. He's like, fuck big business. Like, I'm doing it on my own. But, you know, we love that. We love that about that character. Or about because we're talking about ourselves, that this desire to David versus Goliath, to go up against Goliath and kick their fucking ass. You know, we love that idea. It's the hero idea. It's the idea that the hero is going to be able to go on a journey and gain skills that allows them to take down the fucking empire, to blow up the goddamn Death Star with one little rock or one little photon torpedo or whatever the fuck it is.
Or like Star Wars hitting that one spot in the Death Star.
Yeah, exactly.
Blows it up.
Yeah. We love that and want it. And so on the one hand, you have to get, if you're trying to maintain power, you have to identify and get rid of those people. Or fold them in or whatever, just shut them the fuck up. And then two, you can utilize that for your benefit. And right, in some ways, I think that was the appeal of Trump. He's an outsider. He can't be bought. He can do whatever he wants.
Or like Obama or Bernie.
Exactly. Sure. Yes. That's part of the thing that whether it's true or not, the people who love those people, that's a huge part of the appeal. That's a huge part of the appeal.
Yeah,
and it makes sense from what we're
100%.
saying, that we like that storyline of the hero going against the big bad guy and it fucking winning.
Yeah. It's like how to keep people, because you're selling hope. Hope is what you're selling, and that story gives people hope that eventually if they play their cards right and are patient and do it right, they can unseat the bully and topple the bully who is doing terrible things to them and causing all these problems.
Which also means the reason you need hope is because of fear. You're in fear, so you install the bully and then you sell the solution to that problem.
Yeah.
It's called war, right? Because we need to beat the motherfucker up. Right? Like, I know we're not violent and stuff like that, but he is. The only way we're taking him out is if we fuck him up. We kill him, we get rid of him, and so that's called war. And I'll say, here's a knife, or here's a gun, or let's come up with a plan and blow the fucker up. Which is what I thought, like in the newer Star Wars movie, I thought it was so smart that this Luke Skywalker just leaves everything and lives in a cave, and they're asking him why, and he's like, well, as long as the light side is battling the dark side, as long as there's two sides battling, that's called war. So I don't even want to be on the light side anymore, because that implies that we're in a constant battle. I thought it was so clever. Oh, I thought that was so clever. That's so clever. Oh my gosh. It implies like a constant battle.
Well, which is why, in a way, it's like that, to me, brings it to the spiritual realm, which is like transcending the materialism and the matter, and the matter is good versus evil, dualism, like it really at the top, like in Eastern philosophy, at the top, it's all connected. We're all one.
Yes.
But then at the next level down, it's light versus dark, good versus evil, and it's like that narrative seems to be the thing that influences us to see things through that lens, and it's hard to escape that lens of this battle between the good versus evil.
Right. You
can't. It's like, hey, both sides think they're good in their own way.
Exactly.
Like, like if your place gets infested with roaches or rats, you're not like, gee, how can I make it a better environment for the rats or the roaches? You're trying to get rid of them, whether it means kill them or move them out or poison them or whatever.
Yeah.
If you could snap your fingers and do it in the most humane way and transport them all from here to there.
Yeah.
Which is, like, according to like, Jack Cruz and others, is like, that's what the Nazis were, part of their reason was to transport the Jews out of Germany and Europe to Palestine and create Israel and become this, aircraft carrier beachhead for the empire. But they didn't want to go, or what, the Jews are claiming to want to do. No, we just want the Palestinians out of here. We're going to move them somewhere. We don't want to just kill them all. And it's like, okay, well, it's like, whether you're trying to kill them all or in part, which is genocide, or just ethnically cleanse them, make it so that none of them will be here. It's like when we get rid of cockroaches or rats, we don't call it ethnic cleansing. We're just like pest control, and most people will do that, and you'll have maybe some people that are into whatever animal rights or something, or insect rights, and they'll be like, well, we should do it in a more humane way. And ideally, it would be better to do it in a humane way. But then,
tell me one. Especially, I randomly watched this video on this guy. He's called the Mink Man, and farmers hire him to come to their farms and kill all their fucking rats, because you can't fucking kill rats. You can put out all the traps you want. You can put out poison and fuck up your own water supply and your own crops and your own plant and your own pets and shit like that. There's no good fucking way except for one fucking way, and that's hire a rat trapper, right? And there's two I've seen so far. It's so weird. It's kind of disturbing, but it's also like a new experience, new knowledge that I didn't have before. There's two kinds of rat catchers. One, it's like the sniper, bro. they come out with these like pellet guns and with night vision scopes, like fucking infrared scopes, and they just start sniping the rats like that. And then the other style is they bring. It's so interesting. The really some breeds of really small dog, which I wish I had known this because I'm always like, what the fuck's up with like a little dog that fits in a like pocket or something? Like, we're so weird we bred that for some reason. But but totally. Some of those dogs are like designed, it's like in their like genes or something to catch motherfucking rats, bro. Like that is when it's crazy. They're like can get in some of the smaller spots. They're super fast. They just grab them and like shake, like bite and shake the shit out of the rat and just kill it. It's crazy. And then for like the really small areas where the dogs can't get to, he has a mink. And the mink is able to, like, kind of like a ferret looking thing, is able to get in there and kill the fucking rats. And so it's like, there isn't a way to get rid of rats. There isn't, unless you hunt those motherfuckers down. And then you got to do that every 2 or 3 years, you know, because it will come back. But if you kill all the motherfuckers, you've got a couple of years of peace and quiet again.
But then they're going to come back, likely to come back. It's just a matter of time.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Right. And
because they're living off of us, right? It's like, it's anywhere you find humans, you're going to find rats because we're growing grain and storing it. We're cooking food and creating garbage. We are the part of the ecosystem for rats and mice. Like it's a circle of life.
Yeah. and to be like, yes, we're killing all these rats as opposed to we're killing all these cute, adorable kittens and puppies.
Right.
Then people be like, whoa, 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 right. What are you doing? You know, so if you kill whatever, however many hundred Jews on October 7th, you know, and you know, or over 1,000 Jews, and everyone is like, then you can do whatever you want, like in the West, you know,
right?
You know, not like, and that narrative works well, for basically rich white people,
right?
You know, like Zionists and really rich white people, you know.
Oh, because I don't have to go kill them. Like, my government will go kill them. Like I don't have to go into. I have to do anything. I just need to be pissed enough.
And so the Israelis are the cute puppies and kittens, and the Palestinians are the rats. And it's totally okay to kill all the rats no matter what you do. But the puppies and kittens, no, people have a problem with that. But then like with TikTok and social media, all of a sudden people are posting all these videos and they're like, wait, this is a little you know, like skin and bones baby.
Those Palestinians are kind of cute. Like, damn it.
They're that's pretty cute.
Like, they're human.
Look like no rat to me.
There's like kids. There's kids that are Palestinians. Like, I didn't really think about that. I thought they were all terrorists.
I thought they were like, if they're drooling and got big teeth,
right.
And then it's
turns out they're human.
Turns
out they're human. What? I never understood that.
You know, and it's you know, and you know, I don't know if you saw, but like, for example, like, you know, that guy Dave Smith, he's like a comedian.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Okay. Yeah. So I really like him. He's kind of like a libertarian. He was the one that Douglas Murray went and debated him on Rogan about Israel, and it really backfired on Douglas Murray.
Okay.
And Douglas Murray thought he was going to go on to Rogan, you know, because he debates people. He's like kind of one of these like right-wing public intellectuals who's kind of articulate. And he's got this, you know, British accent. And he goes on and he went on there and did this like, well, and weird because it coincided with a lot of these right-wing influencers. Like, you know, like I like Tim Pool.
Sure.
Okay, so like, for example, it came out that Tim Pool had this, it's like Chatham House rules meeting with Netanyahu, had this Chatham House, which means basically you get a bunch of people together and you all talk very openly about things, but there's an honor system, honor code, where no one says publicly what you talked about or anything specifically said. So you can talk and exchange, like a think tank, you know, where you can like bounce it and come to try to troubleshoot and come. And they're like, how do we reverse, like, the trend is going the wrong way. They're like, we thought October 7th would have the desired effect. And initially it did. You know, October 7th, you know, them making it happen or allowing it to happen, you know, achieves the, you know, manufactures the consent to go and now take, you know, the kid gloves off. And instead of the slow motion ethnic cleansing genocide, making, you know, the open air concentration camp, like, now let's take it to the next level now. And so, like, that's why any of these Israeli, you know, Zionist propagandists, they go on some, you know, whatever news platform, or they say, well, we don't care how many we've killed. Like, this is all Hamas's fault. That's just it. They did this terrible attack, just like 9/11 for us. It's like, well, 9/11 happened. We just can't let that happen. And it's like, imagine you live there and these terrorists come and just, you're going to let them just keep on doing it? You can't let that bully get away with it. You need David to take a slingshot and slay Goliath. You know, where it's like, wait, how are they Goliath? You know, the empire is Goliath.
Because I'm the one telling the story. That's why, you know, I get to decide. History is written by the victors. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, because I am the good guy.
Exactly. And the right wingers call it globalism, and the globalists, you know, I call it the empire. But yeah, it is a global empire. So it's really just a semantic, like, tomato kind of thing, where they want. And that's the thing. They don't want it so that they're not like going to try to like take over China. And they're like, now we're going to have white people with rifles, you know, at the top of the towers of every Chinese person. Like, no, they want to like just break the will of the leadership, you know, assuming that the tippy top, they're not already, you know, part of that 5 or 7, whatever, inner circle that is like, all right, you're in charge of this region, we're in charge of that territory, you know, which is clearly how it is, but it's like, how much are they truly in on it versus how much do they just cooperate? That's up for debate. And to me, it's like, I don't know, I just can't help but think the things that it seem like the most far-fetched, the things that seem like whatever, like when it came out, like that Putin was one of these like World Economic Forum young leaders, you know, like Trudeau was and shit like that. And then it's like, whoa, Putin was one of that? Like, I didn't know that. And like, then you learn like, well, they originally thought Putin was going to be like a sober Boris Yeltsin, you know, and Boris Yeltsin, you know, after the collapse of the Soviet Union, it was like Boris Yeltsin was this guy that wasn't going to win, that the Western oligarchs went in and propped him up, and they thought he was like a useful idiot, and he starts selling off all of, like, you know, all of these resources, which is what they want. They want to take over the country. That's so costly. It just, you know, they want the wealth, and they want it with a low cost way, you know, and the real wealth is the resources, you know, and they don't care about like having, you know, their person, you know, or everyone looking like them or something. Like, they know like that doesn't really work. Just like in South Africa in the late 1800s with Cecil Rhodes and the Rothschilds and the British Empire, they just had to, like, you know, they had to fight against whatever, the Boers, the Dutch, you know, the competing empire interests. They had to, the tribes and the leadership that was the indigenous people, and how do you know, make a deal? Let's make a deal. We want this gold and diamonds, and what do you want? You know, and well, we want to get rid of our rival gangs. We'll help you do that. You know, you'll become our client government, or Israel, or the House of Saudi Arabia, like, or, you know, or in America, setting up an oligarchic class, that with a Federal Reserve, a central bank, military industrial complex, the media is dominated, the agriculture, the drugs, like all this shit, the main things that they feel are the relevant parts to running a workable system, so that you can use that place. And I feel like America's is a different, like I say, like America is not the king on the empire chessboard. It's more like the queen, the most powerful piece on the board. But like the king is like the oligarchs that ultimately, it can't move as fast. It doesn't as powerful, but it's like it uses the stronger pieces as a way. It's all about capturing and killing or removing the competing oligarchs that aren't down with your system.
Well, and specifically, who are gonna use to like make the killer blow most of the time? The queen.
Yeah. And sometimes you have to be willing to sacrifice the queen, to win. And it's okay because you got all these other.
Well, that's going to be it's still your main weapon. Even if in the combination the queen gets taken, the queen sacrifice is leading to victory. The queen sacrifice that doesn't lead to victory is called a mistake,
Yeah, exactly. And you have all these other pawns who none of them can become a king, but they can become a queen. So you can make a new queen.
Yeah, absolutely. And the threat is always stronger than the execution in chess. What you want is to control the tempo of the game. You want to be the one making threats so that they have to respond. Attack is easier than defense. And so you just want to imply, I'm about to do this, and then they respond. Right? What you don't meaning in chess, the idea is don't ever respond if you don't have to. Push your own interest, create a counter threat, try and find a reason why their attack actually will end up failing. Or right, your best option is don't respond if you possibly can't, right? Like it's such a chess
yeah, like don't play their game, play your game.
Because once they're responding to your attacks, it starts a rhythm. It starts a rhythm, like they have in boxing. I'm throwing attacks, and you're only defending. You may dodge 90%, but 10% are going to go through, and you didn't throw any attacks on me.
Yeah. Exactly. Your opponent's in a constant state of reaction.
Yes.
You're creating action. They're reacting to your action.
Yeah.
And then they stay behind the 8 ball in that way. It's like they just got to keep it going while you keep on throwing shit out at them. And they're like, whoa, I got to deal with that, deal with that. And it's like, all right, they can't think strategy. They can only think tactics. Meanwhile, you're
gaining tempo. It's called tempo. So you're gaining time by doing that because they're going and you're over here like whatever. Like I'll wait till they respond and then I'll do the next aggressive move. Like you can kind of chill out. It gains you time and in some ways a free move because they're restricted in that they must defend. And then when it gets to you, you could keep going with the attack or you can continue to develop. It kind of gives you a free move. Gaining a tempo is gaining a free move, and you're gaining time is really what you're gaining.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. That's why it's like being the maestro who gets to make the music and everyone else has got to dance. They're not making the music that we're going to dance to. We're going to make music that they're going to dance to.
Yeah.
And they're not going to stop dancing until we stop the music.
Right.
And we know, and if you know when you're going to stop the music, you get this arbitrage, this competitive advantage, this advanced knowledge, and then you can just time it right. And even though you can't control everything, you can control that and then get the timing right. And then some people might pick up on your patterns, and be like, well, like 9 out of 10 times that this happened next, so I'm timing it. They're like, all right, we got to account for that. Try to throw off those people because those people can start building up wealth and assets, and then can maybe eventually start trying to rival us.
Right.
And that's why it's like as time goes on, like, it's all about the surveillance state, the surveillance system, or like we were talking about Google or Apple, like if some competitor comes up with something that could render their products obsolete, it's like you want to get ahead of that. And if you're too slow on it, like like if the Great Britain, had the technology to surveil everything that the American colony, was doing, they could have probably figured out who
sure.
And stamped it out. But because they couldn't, and so that's why, like, there's this mad rush to create this surveillance system and the AI to go through it so that people can have the most accurate intelligence and information to act on. And then you can throw out false signals to your competitors and create the music they're going to dance to before they create the music that you're going to have to dance to.
Meaning also that we've already had this technology in top secret black budget areas, meaning we've already gotten to the point where we can exploit its use. So now we want it in the public sphere. We're like, use this AI stuff, use this stuff. We're ready for that. We're already 10 generations beyond that. So okay, release that bottom one, because it's like we have like an anti-AI flashlight now. It's like, it's like, what? It's like, you just shine this flashlight and AI can't track you anymore. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about? It's like, okay, wow, they're that far beyond it that now for us, we're like, wow, this is an incredibly powerful tool and it can be used for knowledge or to track people or whatever, create new medicines and blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. Wow, this is gonna be amazing. And it's one of the biggest probably currently is the biggest kind of mover in the stock market and everything like that. Quantum stuff is next, but it's this AI thing, and it drives the economy, the at least the stock market and stuff like that. And so it means it's already so like obsolete. It means for the powers that be, this technology has become obsolete, so they're willing to like let it out.
Or like you said, you have such advanced stuff and you let loose like ChatGPT, like the bottom feeder of it. Because you need feedback.
Oh, absolutely. It's going to be useful. It's going to be useful. It's going to be super useful, but it's of no threat to you. It's going to be super useful, but no threat. It's like, oh yeah, we figured this crap out. Like, no problem.
Mm-hmm. And things like nuclear weapons, once you've used it, now people are aware of it. So it has the desired effect of scaring lots of people, but now others are going to be aware of it. And that's why, to me, it's like the idea of nuclear weapons, and to bring it back to like something like Israel or Iran or North Korea or Libya. Now it's like, so North Korea has nuclear weapons, but not to the degree we fuck with Iran, and Libya, shortly before, the attacks in Iran, Trump and Netanyahu were talking about like, we can't let, Iran develop nuclear weapons. And they mentioned, Netanyahu, I'm pretty sure, I think Trump might have also said like, we want to go the Libya model, which was the Libya model was they convinced Gaddafi to give up wherever they were at with development of nuclear materials, to forego that and give that up. In exchange for that, they will stop fucking around with Gaddafi in Libya. But once they got that, shortly after that, that was when they went, all right, we're invading you, motherfucker. And then they raped that guy up the ass to death, and put it on the internet, and we're like, that's right, motherfuckers. If you don't do what we say, you might get away with it for a while. You might even get away with it for a few decades, but eventually we're coming back and we're getting our pound of flesh. And, and then we're going to make a public example of you that like, you and your children are going to get raped up the ass to death in this brutal. You don't want that. Or you could be fabulously wealthy by just being our boys over there and helping us facilitate our system, and if you will, then you'll make out like bandits, and you'll become, the founding father, the people who, help lift your people out of poverty, even though no, we're never going to let that happen. We're going to allow a certain amount of development, but you're going to be hopelessly in debt to us.
Yeah.
Kind of like America's becoming now.
It's an easy.
Yeah, you're never paying.
That's easy to answer to.
Yeah, but it's interesting because, these different mechanisms of control is like, even if someone is like, okay, well, we're starting to lose control of them. It's like, all right, well, let's just not buy the bonds anymore. Mm-hmm. How are they going to fund themselves?
Right.
Like it happened in New York City in the mid '70s. When the bond buyers just by coincidence, just all in the same exact moment decided we're not buying bonds, and then no one bought the bonds, and then they use that as leverage and be like, look, you have to sell us certain parts of the city, and we're going to put in parking meters and whatnot, and that will help us earn rent and revenue, all this shit. Like, we're not just going to buy the bonds now, like now we're going to buy it, but we need more. And we're going to use this power play of leverage. And that's what, like, they basically do for different countries around the world. Yeah. And someone like Trump is trying to, there is a couple of people. I listen to a lot of different sources, and especially individuals that I feel are really, I don't know, really intelligent, really informed, used to be insiders or all of the above. Mm-hmm. And there's a couple of them that are, that are like, that feel that, most of them do not feel this way, but there's like 1, 2, or 3 of them that I listen to that are like, no, Trump is actually playing a long game here, and he's trying to undermine the city of London, and how that's really like Wall Street is an extension of the city of London. Like JP Morgan was an extension of the Rothschilds and British finance, and when talking about, so the 3 real big players in the global empire are like Britain, UK, America, and Israel, like who Epstein was clearly working with, and it's like the art of war, when you're one, pretend to be many, when you're many, pretend to be few. And so it's kind of like having Epstein people. Everyone's like, well, he's clearly was an Israeli or Mossad asset, and it's like, seems pretty clearly that's at least part of the story, if not most of the story. But the idea is that no, Israel is just like a proxy of the Anglo-American Empire,
right?
So it gets a little confusing, and that's why it's like, well, it's almost beside the point. Like, maybe one day we'll have all the answers and be like, well, 38.6% was the UK,
right? Sure,
29, and we'll have like, but until then, it's like, clearly the 3 work together and they outsource, in ways so that you can't just, if you say, well, 9/11 was the US government or the CIA, it's like, well, you're actually going to be wrong.
Right.
Because it's like, they're all, yeah. And
no,
it's like this weird game.
It's what KRS-One said. It was like an interview or a talk or something, and he said, countries are for poor people.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's a belief in like some invisible lines and shit, basically. And like you're saying, it becomes a tool to kind of it causes it's a reductionist argument to say it's just the United States doing it, or it's just Israel. You're already kind of thrown off the scent right away if you start talking that way.
Yeah. And so there's like for example, there are these 2 guys who I like, Tom Longo. Have you ever heard of him?
I think so.
Like maybe like Guns, Goats, and Butter or some shit, something like that. Whatever. He's like kind of like this conservative guy, but he's like a finance guy. So he really focused on the finance part of things, that he talks about things from a very conspiratorial way, but he's not, using highly speculative things. But he's like a real, like, kind of like arrogant prick. Mm-hmm. And he's kind of like happily so. and there's this other guy, for example, Alex Craner. I don't know if you ever heard of him.
I don't think so.
He's from. I feel like he's from somewhere in Eastern Europe, I think, originally. He was like a hedge fund manager from like the 90s, like a market analyst. See, that's the thing. Like you go to, I like a lot of different sources, you know, and hear their different thoughts and analysis. I could send you a couple of videos that are pretty interesting of them because, like,
let's do it, and then we'll talk about it on the next one.
Okay, because like you know, Tom Longo, like I say, he's kind of like an arrogant prick, and he pisses off a lot of people in a similar way like Jack Cruz pisses off a lot of people. He's just like, not a nice guy.
Yeah,
and he's not claiming to be a nice guy.
No.
And I'm honestly, I'm kind of okay with that. Sometimes it bothers me a little bit. There's some times when he, you know, where sometimes I'm like, come on, man. Like, I feel like you're taking too hard a line in a black and white way that, I don't know, if I was talking to him, I respect and admire him enough that I would say, like, just help explain to me why you see it that way. Because I don't see it that way. Like, Catherine Austin Fitts is someone who I really like.
Yeah.
And you know, I think she does great work and great analysis. I think she's like on
very interesting
pulse in a lot of ways. You know, very interesting. But like Jack Cruz, I've heard him talk about her, and he's like her and Whitney Webb, and he'll be like, look, they do great work. They do great work. And then, but then he'll like, you know, be asked to follow up on it later, and he'll be like, look, they do some great work, but they don't understand, you know, X, Y, and Z.
Yes.
So I give them no quarter. And where I'm just like, look, all right, maybe they're not seeing like what you're seeing, but like, why just dismiss them? And he might say like, well, half truths lead to full lies, which is something he likes to say. But I'm like, I don't really, you know, like in a way, I'm the type of person that's like, I like that story that my dad told me, you know, 30 years ago about like Native American tribes that would sit around in a circle around like a single object, and they go one by one around the circle saying what they saw, and each person seeing it from a different perspective saw it a little differently. And the purpose was that no individual knows or can see the full thing.
That's insane.
But together, if they work together, they can work together to have a more complete, unabridged understand. And I feel like Jack Cruz is really cracked the code on so many levels, on levels from his one perspective, that it's like truly mind blowing and amazing. But I would just be like, look, man, like, come on, like, you know, maybe you're right in some of the ways, but maybe, just maybe, you're missing a thing or two.
You're not the arbiter of the truth. No one can be, right? Yeah. The amount of information is too vast. It's actually infinite. It's about, there's an infinite level of information in the universe.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's something like, and whereas like, I don't know, when we first met each other, like, you know, a little over 20 years ago, roughly, like back then, it wasn't a left wing or right wing thing to become red pilled. It was like, it was from both. Yes. And then I really feel like when Obama came in, all of a sudden I started noticing a lot of people from the left, like, becoming more blue pilled.
Of course.
And I was like, what's going on? And they were just like, look, things are different now. It's not George W. Bush anymore. Obama's in. We got our first black president. He was against the Iraq war, and he's a good guy. And at the very beginning, it was like, you know, like 2009 or 2010, I was like, well, whatever. He just bailed out the banks and Wall Street instead of, you know, like he extended the Bush bailouts. You know, it doesn't show that it's really doesn't matter which puppet sits on the throne. But if you're part of that group thing, you know, then you're like, you defend your side the way all the Trumpers defend Trump.
Yeah.
You know, but, you know, and I feel like I remember talking to people back, you know, when Obama was president, and the people on the left were like, or liberal or left, whatever you want to call it, they were like, whoa, like, you're all doom and gloom, Josh. Like, you know, I don't know about what you're saying. You know, like, things are okay. Look, the market is up things are good. We have a black president. Yeah, whatever. Things are getting better. And I'm like, no, you don't realize it. Like, W was such a departure in lighting the world on fire. The Patriot Act, all this shit. And it was this big departure, but it was an emergency. We had to do it for 9/11, war on terror, and blah, blah, blah. Obama came in and just codified all that. He was presented as the exact opposite of W, but instead, like Chomsky, when asked, like, describe Obama and his foreign policy, I'll say it in 3 words: George W. Bush.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
that's probably one of the reasons he got in. You know what I mean? Like, he was like, right? Like, that wasn't a bug. That was a feature.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And then you find out from WikiLeaks later that Citigroup chose Obama's cabinet in 2008.
Sure.
Like 90% of his cabinet, they were emails where Citigroup chose his cabinet ahead of time. And when Trump won, I remember it was the day that he fired James Comey, and I was out in Colorado with my good friend Chris and his buddy, and they co-owned a production company, and they were like trying to work with me on the Smedley Butler stuff to turn that into some sort of documentary or movie or a series. And so we went out to Colorado to interview one of the authors of one of the Smedley Butler
I remember.
Yeah, okay. And so we were out there, and while I was interviewing the guy, which, by the way, was like amazing for me to interview this guy and realize, like, whoa, I know my shit. Like, because I'm talking to this guy who's this author and whatever, and I'm like, whoa, there's all this stuff I know that he doesn't know.
Yeah.
And was helping correct him. And he was a really smart guy, and it was great. But then at some point in the middle of the interview, like, Chris or his buddy were like on their phone, like, whoa, Trump just fired Comey. And they're like, boom, that means Russiagate is 100% legit. That real, and all this is really true. And we went to like a bar when the interview was done. And we started talking about stuff, and we were like having, that interview was great. It was a few hours. I had, given him all these very detailed questions that helped. I wanted to get certain information from this guy. I gave him all these really detailed questions to which he had really detailed answers for. And it was like a victory celebratory dinner and drinks that we were having afterwards. And these guys, like, Trump broke their brain, and they're like, Trump is totally different than any other politician. It's like, and I'm like, in style, yes, but in substance, not as much as the style. And they were like, what are you talking about? Like, he's so corrupt, he's so blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, yes, but not much more than Obama. Like, Obama, came out, the Citigroup chose 90% of his cabinet.
Yeah.
And they had never heard that before, because they're just New York Times type of people and economist type people. And they were just like, what are you talking about? I'm like, yeah, you don't know this? They're like, no. I'm like, yeah, that came out. They're like, what's your source? I'm like, WikiLeaks. And they're like, WikiLeaks? WikiLeaks is Russian propaganda and disinformation. I was like, please, you guys know anything about this thing called math?
Yeah.
I'm like, because the New York Times, which you guys love, does not have a 100% correct record. They've gotten plenty of things wrong. WikiLeaks has a 100% success. They've never published anything proven to be false. So I will take that higher math than your New York Times. And it just started this big fight, and it got like kind of heated. And after that, I was like, in my head, I was like, I don't want to work with you guys on this project. I don't trust you guys. Not that they were good guys. They're not like, but like, I'm like, you guys have fallen. You've lost, the narrative, and you're not the right people to work with. In my mind, I want to work with people that are not gonna be blue anon and blue pill, and that was like a weird awakening experience for me,
Yes.
To be like, yeah, I mean, yeah, it was just pretty wild.
We should revisit the Smedley Butler topic for one or two of these for sure.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Well, it was awesome talking with you.
Yeah, awesome talking to you, man.
We'll keep doing it, and I think we already had one of these, and I'll try to get around to. I'm about to go to the lake for a week, so hopefully I'll be able to upload some stuff, and I'll try and start getting it online.
Awesome, man. Awesome.
Cool.
Do you want to try to do next Wednesday or the Wednesday after that, or whatever?
I'm down. The way my mind works, if it's just every Wednesday, then I'm just down. I'm done.
Okay.
I would rather never. And if one of us needs to cancel, then we just cancel. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, I'm busy or some shit like that. But in my mind, awesome. The way it works, if we can keep it every Wednesday, I'm down. I'm in.
I love it. Awesome, man. I'm down.
Down. Awesome. This is so great. This is so good.
Man.
Imagine how long we could go. How long do you think we could go?
Dude, I bet you we could just keep going.
Holy crap. if we ever get any level of popularity, meaning like more than 5 people or something are watching us, we should do like a really long one or something. Yeah. You know? Oh my God.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I would love that, man.
All right, man. I'll talk to you later. It was awesome. I'm gonna go eat some lunch.
Later, Dogon.
Okay, bye. I'll see you later.
Brother.
Bye.
All right. Bye, buddy.